Hello and welcome to Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio. This is Stefan, your host, British by birth, American by choice. The Founding Fathers crafted some remarkable documents that led to the creation of a great country founded on liberty and self-reliance. I have lived in the Euro-socialist nightmare, and I'm doing what I can to return this country to the vision that the Founding Fathers gave us. We need to strive to rebuild that shining city on the hill, for without us, the world has nowhere to turn for freedom. For the next hour, I will be presenting news, views, and guests that help keep the true spirit of America alive.
And good evening, good afternoon, good morning. Whenever, wherever you're listening from, this is Stefan, your Patrick Come Lately, British by birth, American by choice, welcoming you to episode 230 of Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio. Got a lot to talk about tonight. I'm welcoming you from Cumming, Georgia. Yes, I'm in the Patrick Come Lately studios tonight. Sounds grand, doesn't it? But it's nice to use that. Tonight is rather a sad night, but we've got a lot of other things to talk about as well. I don't want to let the sadness drag us down, but we also need to be cognizant of what's been going on. But it all intertwines as well. And a lot of it, I'm afraid to say, yet again, comes from the lack of leadership at the top. So before we start on anything else, what I'd like to do basically is just say the following. A few days ago, the funeral took place of the highest ranking military person to have been killed on the battlefield in a long, long time. Right, a 2-star general had been shot in Afghanistan, and he was buried. Now, what do you think dear leader was doing at exactly the same time as that burial? Remember, dear leader, of course, has decided he works so hard, he's doing such a good job, he does need some time off and needs to go off to a horrendously expensive vacation in Martha's Vineyard. Well, yes, we all know what he was doing while this general was being buried. And by the way, I hear he doesn't even play all that well either. What a lack of leadership. Basically, what an a-hole that guy is. At least, the very least he could have done is said, you know what? On the day that this general's being buried, I will not. Now, I don't have a lot of good things sometimes to say about George Bush, but one of the classy things that he did, and he was 10 times more of a leader than little Barry will ever hope to be. And like I said, while I don't agree with a number of his policies, one of the great things that he did as a leader was to say, I am not going to play golf while the people that I send out to war are in harm's way. And what does King Barry do? Looks like he spends more time on golf than anything else. But I'm going to give some more examples as we go through tonight of how ineffective, how useless, and how incompetent he and his administration are. And hopefully we get this message out and the country turns around and hands the Democrats a resounding defeat at the polls this November and also in 2016, because the thought of having a harpy like either Hillary Clinton or Elizabeth Warren, either of them, it just frightens me to death. Okay, folks. Other topics, like I said, some sad, some less sad, and we do need to, try and be cognizant of the sad things, but also know that there are positive things, and they will help us overcome these sad things. And before we go on to the next topic, around about this time, I always stop and say hi to the folks in the chat room and give a reminder to those of you that are listening live. Go to the chat room. You can chat there amongst yourselves. I like to read the texts that are going on there. If you've got comments or questions, you can put them in there. If you are not listening live, you're listening to the recording, you're listening to Red State Talk Radio, then I will play something a little bit later which will help you contact me via other means. And like I said, I'd like to greet our guests in the chat room. Rex has signed in, so good evening to him. As you know, Rex is one of my favorite authors, if not perhaps my favorite author of the moment. And he and I have grown to be good friends, at least from, I think it's reciprocated, but definitely from my side. And a couple of weeks ago, Rex is aware I've been trying to get a novel off the ground for a while, and he offered to have a look at, what I'd my scratchings to date, and he seemed rather reluctant to get back to me because he felt it might disturb our friendship, because he had comments about some of the early chapters that I sent him for a review. Well, I told him I'm very, very appreciative of what he's doing. That's real friendship, and as real friends, we should be able to tell each other the truth. So once again, Rex, thanks very much for what you're doing there. As I said before, it's a little bit on the back burner because of the other book, my father's book that I'm editing, and I'm sure I won't do as good a job as you, but it's kind of something I feel I have to do given the circumstances. But once that's through, I will definitely get back to my own book. And also say hi to Paul, who has joined us, another regular. Thanks, guys, for coming. Really appreciate it. Anyway, so let's go on to, I'm going to start with some of the nicer things. We'll get to some of because it does lead into some of the less nice things. Last week, and I didn't mention them, my apologies for that, I attended a local Tea Party group meeting, the Forsyth County Tea Party Patriot Alliance. So they met last week. They meet on the first Monday of the month, and then or is it the second? Anyway, whatever last Monday was. And then this Monday, the Forsyth County Tea Party meets, and I was also able to go there. Both of them had excellent meetings, I have to say, good speakers. They have good speakers, very enthusiastic people, and I was, I really have to hand it to them. And in the past, I've also mentioned, a number of weeks ago, I went to the Lake Lanier Tea Party, which is a little further away. So all these groups doing sterling work, and we've got a lot of work to do before this election and the 2016 election. If I have one concern, it would be, especially here in Cumming, we have two groups meeting on kind of a week apart for pretty much the same geographical area. And, is this fracturing our resources instead of creating a single Leviathan that will help make a change at the ballot box and in American politics? My experience in Central Florida was that we have divisions there as well. Sometimes they are due to location. So Lake Lanier Tea Party is a little further away. I can understand people don't want to drive all the way over here. there's tea parties down in Alpharetta, Roswell, which are also not that far away. In Orlando, I used to drive 3/4 of an hour to an hour to some of the tea party meetings. Orlando is pretty big, and it can take quite a while to get from one side to the other. But I understand there are a lot of people who don't have the ability, don't have the wish to go that far. So I can understand that there are small groups. I also know in Central Florida, and I don't know about here whether it's also takes place, but there are also divisions due to personalities, and I think that is that's unfortunate. What happens is, well, Joe, you're hogging all the power, so I'm going to take my ball and I'm going to set up my own little group over here. We'll never lose these kinds of issues, but I just wish sometimes we could rise above them for the good of the country. We would be so much stronger if we could. That having been said, like I said, these individual groups, they are good. They're doing sterling work. Every voice, every person contributes. And sometimes many small contributions can also add up to what we need. So, folks, don't stop what you're doing. But if we can find a way to work even closer together, that would be great. So I'm going to play our little interlude here. But this is kind of a follow-on from last night's meeting. So at the end of the meeting, I was talking to one of the attendees. She mentioned to me and said, do you realize there's we talk about ISIS and Afghanistan and Al-Qaeda and the Taliban. She said, do you realize there is infiltration going on here in America and specifically even here in Georgia? I said, well, I knew that there is some going on, and especially look at places like Dearborn, but here in Georgia? She said, yes. There are training camps, especially I believe in South Georgia, maybe one in the North Georgia mountains, that have been here for possibly as long as 20 years, definitely before 9/11. The message of this infiltration became rather chilling when she revealed that local people who lived near these camps reported hearing the firing of automatic weapons, probably into the sky, and partying going on for probably 6 or 7 days after 9/11. Okay, so we know whose side these people are on. And it's not only Georgia. It also appears that Muslims were protesting in Orlando recently in support of the terrorist organization Hezbollah. So I wouldn't be at all surprised if there are training camps in Florida as well. So, interesting news from this lady. And so I thought, if any of my listeners in Georgia, Florida, or anywhere else in the US have more information on these camps, I'd love to discuss them in a future show. So please email me at stephan@patrickcomelately.us with any information that you feel safe in sharing. And I use the word safe there deliberately after the news that broke tonight, Tuesday night. For those of you that are not listening live, you'll know what that news was by now, of course, because it'll be all over the media. But that news made the existence of these camps even more chilling. Are we to expect the beheading of American citizens by Islamist thugs in our own country? Or worse, and this was information shared with me by my source at the meeting last night, even the deaths of American children slaughtered in their schools. And don't forget, schools, folks, are gun-free zones. So who's going to stop anybody coming in there to do harm to the children? It seems that papers and sometimes equipment, laptops, thumb drives and things have been found outside these camps that have held plans for attacking local schools whenever D-Day, whatever that is, occurs. And don't forget, folks, can you remember that horrific thing that happened in Russia, where there was was that invasion of the school, and I think over 300 children died. Is that what we want to have here in the U.S.? So now, what can we do about this? Well, that's a long story. We've got to, on the one hand, we've got to be aware that we have to follow the rule of law, and I will be the first to say so. So if these knuckle draggers want to shoot off weapons and party after 3,000 people were killed, they have that right, and I will fight to the death to give them that right to do it. But if they're plotting to kill people, that's a whole different perspective. Now, talked earlier about the news that broke this evening, and to respect the wishes of the Foley family, I'm not going to spend much time on the news. That basically, as I said, if you probably heard tonight, but if you haven't, then you will hear now. If you're listening to a recording of any sort, it's probably been all over the media. But the American reporter James Foley that was captured by Islamist rebels fighting in Syria about 2 years ago was executed recently. We don't know exactly when, and a video was put up on YouTube. This is just another example of the barbaric methods of the ISIS Islamist thugs. What's probably even worse is that key members of the ISIS army were trained by the US. Yes, that's right. We, America, well, the half-White House, at least, supports terrorist organizations. They've been training these people, all in the name of getting rid of a so-called tyrant in Syria. Well, to be honest, al-Assad now looks pretty much like a choir boy compared to these marauding thugs. On top of that, al-Assad is still in power, which shows how weak and ineffective King Barry really is. He cannot seat al-Assad, and he cannot contain his own creation, the ISIS murdering hordes. He doesn't seal the border and stop such dangerous people from entering the US. I bet if we did invade these training camps, if we found sufficient reason to actually go and invade them, if we can do it to Gibson Guitar, why can't we do it there? We'd probably find hundreds of illegal immigrants, not here to do the work that Americans will not do, but preparing to make sure that Americans are ethnically cleansed, murdered, or forced to work as dhimmi slaves. Folks, it's time for a break, and I need to get my blood pressure down. But before we do, just a few words from Ronnie.
Admittedly, there's a risk in any course we follow other than this, but every lesson of history tells us that the greater risk lies in appeasement. And this is the specter our well-meaning liberal friends refuse to face, that their policy of accommodation is appeasement. And it gives no choice between peace and war, only between fight or surrender. If we continue to accommodate, continue to back and retreat, eventually we have to face the final demand, the ultimatum. And what then? When Nikita Khrushchev has told his people he knows what our answer will be. He has told them that we're retreating under the pressure of the Cold War, and someday, when the time comes to deliver the final ultimatum, our surrender will be voluntary, because by that time, we will have been weakened from within spiritually, morally, and economically.
Patriot come lately. British by birth. American by choice. Just like the Founding Fathers, the voice of the conservative resistance.
Attention! Have you been in a serious automobile accident? Then you need to call our attorneys now. We specialize in helping our clients get compensated for major auto injuries. If you've been in any type of car or motorcycle accident and you've been seriously injured, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation. Our attorneys have recovered millions and millions of dollars for injured clients. There are no out-of-pocket costs to you ever. We only receive a fee when we win your case. We are available 24/7. If you've been in an accident and been seriously injured, make this free call to our attorneys now. Call the Personal Injury Center at 800-634-1315. 800-634-1315. 800-634-1315. That's 800-634-1315. This ad is paid for by participating member law firms. We are not an attorney referral service. Representation may not be available in your state.
This is Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio, coming to you live via the internet, via rebroadcast on WRSDB, the Red State Talk Radio Network, or from the recordings at archives.patrickcomelately.us.
And thanks for sticking with me through that break. Yes, I think fairly interesting and chilling, frightening stuff in that first segment. So let's go and look for a bit more of good news, and therefore let's go here, and I think time for a new topic. So the good news is that more and more people, and I'm just having a look here, did I, oops, I'm lost my place. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, we will dun, 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 dun. I see that some of my notes are lost, but I do want to mention them. So this was an interview that the black conservative journalist Jason Riley did. And he was talking about basically the race baiting that's going on. And, I really think that people are beginning to see that it is race baiting, and that for me is the good news. Oh, and there's my notes, got them. So obviously, with everything going on in Ferguson at the moment, liberals try not to let facts get in the way of a tailor-made story, right? What did Rahm Emanuel say? Don't let a good crisis go to waste. And so the liberals on NBC's Meet the Press were trying to perpetuate the racially charged narrative on Sunday. In other words, white cop shoots a black guy because he's black. But the black conservative columnist for the Wall Street Journal, Jason Riley, took the opportunity to educate liberal talking heads. This came from some things on the blog Right Scoop. He responded to the allegations that the officer involved in the shooting was racially motivated, saying that if excessive force was used, it will be found out and the officer will be held accountable. But at the same time, let's not pretend that our morgues and cemeteries are full of young black men because cops are shooting them. The reality is, it's because other black people are shooting them, and we need to talk about the black criminality. Well, congratulations, Jason. Thank you for saying that. He went on to say blacks are only 13% of the population, but they are 50% of homicide victims in this country, and 90% of those victims are killed by other black people. And we need to talk about that. And he's quite right. The left never talks about those numbers. At the same time, in the same weekend that this went down in Ferguson, we had 26 shootings in Chicago. But Al Sharpton didn't head to Chicago. He headed to St. Louis because he has an entirely different agenda, which is to continue to blame whites. And of course, since even that was that interview was given. Things are beginning to come out that right now, in actual fact, the young black that was shot was acting in a very aggressive and threatening manner, tried to get hold of the gun, walked away, came back, and the policeman probably felt that he was in danger of his life. If you see the size of the guy, then I think it's going to come out that it was close to being justified. Of course, we always are sad when someone has to lose their life their way, but there are even rumors that the guy was probably high on drugs as well. And, you know, people don't do that. Now, Ferguson is a mess, let's face it. And I believe that local and state government are responsible for this mess. So here's a little bit of my commentary on this. This is not other people's, this is my commentary. But local and state government are responsible. They may be responsible for the mess, but they are also responsible. And yet, all of a sudden, the Department of Injustice, led by another race baiter, Holder himself, is heading down to Ferguson. They've put, 50 federal agents on the ground. What should have happened, I think, after the initial shock, the mayor and local police at the lowest level there should have spoken softly but carried a big stick. Spoken softly would have been to say, yes, folks, we understand that you're upset. We're going to do something about this. Now go home, be quiet. If you don't, we will take action. But they should have given a day or so, maybe 2 days, for people to get over their grief. But then, as soon as the people did not stop rioting, that was the time for the governor, bump it up a notch, bump it up a level, let the governor take the responsibility. Well, he's a Democrat, Nixon, he's wishy-washy as well, so I'm talking theoretically here. But what I think should have happened, they should have bumped it up to the government, not the government, the governor, and had him bring in the SWAT teams and the National Guard, the militarized police that everybody's talking about. And occasionally there is a place for that. I agree with a lot of people. Militarized police are a danger, and a lot of the time we are militarizing our police, and we use them too often. Like I said, look at Gibson guitars, all sorts of things where the police are very aggressive. But I think at a certain point, that would have been the time to do that. You say 1 or 2 nights, okay, guys, now it's done. You bring in the National Guard, you bring in the police, you surround and you arrest every single one of them and put them in jail. And then it just so happens that it takes 3 or 4 or 5 days, because there's so many of them, before they even get a chance to be heard, and they have to sit in jail for all that time and cool off. That would have tamped things down very quickly. And of course, if we'd had a president who was a leader, he could have come down to Ferguson, maybe during the day. I would have liked to have seen him. Don't see the Secret Service allowing him to do that. But I would have said, go out there in a bulletproof vest, in bulletproof equipment, and go out and show your face, be a leader, and tell the folks, go home. This isn't right. Be a leader. But no, don't hold your breath. Not with Barry. But like I said, so first of all, speak softly. Let them get rid of their energy, but then come in very quickly, because then what happened by dragging it out the way they did, first of all, because bringing in the militarized police so quickly, it inflamed it more, and that also meant that people came from outside. Whereas if they'd have let it just kind of run its course, said, please stop, and then if you don't, we're going to jump in, then it would have been, I think they could have stopped it quickly. They wouldn't have had the outsiders. Just lock everybody up for a while, let them cool off. Now, as I said, Holder is coming there because he told King Barry that he was extremely interested in becoming personally involved in the case. But it's not his case. It's not a federal case. Nothing to do with the federal government. Local and state government have the jurisdiction. So this is just another example of the federal government overreaching and unconstitutionally sticking their nose in where it doesn't belong. Deputy Assistant or former Deputy Assistant Attorney General Tom Dupree was interviewed on Fox, and he described the AG's action as extraordinarily uncommon, albeit symbolic, designed to show the American people that this is a top priority of the president. But it shouldn't be a top priority of the president. It has nothing to do with him. The president's supposed to look after the country and not individual problems inside the country. That's the state or local government's purview. Asked what Holder hoped to accomplish, Dupree listed 3 goals: to rally the troops, to send a message, and to calm the public. Yeah, race baiter Holder's going to calm the public? Don't hold your breath. Holder wanted to show that the federal government is fully invested and fully committed to see that justice is done. Dupree told Bill Hemmer, hence the massive commitment of resources. More than 50 FBI agents were on the scene, plus forensic analysts, in addition to all the state and local officials. In other words, Holder is saying, hey, state, you're not doing a good job, so I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to tell you what to do. Yes, Sieg Heil, Sieg Heil. The government's going to come in and tell you what to do. I am fed up with the government sticking its nose. Involvement would ensure it proceeded the right way. In other words, strong-arming the local government to come up with the result that they want, where the white policeman is convicted irrespective of what. Look what the Department of Injustice did to George Zimmerman, trying to prove that he was guilty come what may, sending in all sorts of resources to find reasons why he would be guilty, and they did nothing on the other side to sort of see whether or not the shooting was actually justified. And this is exactly the same thing here. They are looking for a way to make more divisiveness, and I am quite frankly sick of it. Why President Barack Obama's premier stonemason, as Dupree described him, who's walled up investigation for years into Fast and Furious, the Philadelphia Black Panthers, Solyndra 500 million, and the IRS scandal, suddenly has a burr under the saddle to personally take charge. That's going to be fodder for his legion of critics, and I hope we finally get around those useless bunch of Republicans up in Washington get round to getting rid of Holder and kicking him out, because that's what we need to do. Okay, folks, sorry, time for another break. I'm a little late here, but let's go to break.
Reporting from the eye of the storm. This is the worst weather we've seen in quite some time, folks. And I don't see any end in sight. People have been calling in from across the state complaining their basements are flooding. One guy said he now has an indoor swimming pool in his basement. I told him he needs the waterproofing innovations from Basement Systems. If you want a dry basement or crawl space that will weather any kind of storm, you need the patented solutions from Basement Systems. You've seen them on home makeover shows throughout the country. With a lifetime warranty, every solution is custom designed for your basement. Call now for a free estimate, and you'll never have to worry about storms like these again. I'm predicting this storm front is heading your way, so call Basement Systems and relax.
Call 800-205-8665 for your free in-home inspection, or visit basementradiooffer.com. That's 800-205-8665, or visit basementradiooffer.com.
I've owned my company for 14 years now, and I can tell you that payroll is a 4-letter word. I hate doing it. It eats up hours I don't have, and it costs me money I could be saving. But my accountant's too expensive, and I'm not sure who to call. But I know I need help.
We're Paychex, and we take all the hassles out of small business payroll. We save you time and money. It's easy. Call, fax, or give us your payroll information securely online, and we take care of the rest. We calculate the correct taxes, manage payments and direct deposits. We even send out your checks. Payroll doesn't need to be a four-letter word anymore. We're so sure that we can save you time and money that we'll give you a month's payroll free. Just for calling 877-750-5371. Get 1 month's payroll for free. Call Paychex right now. 877-750-5371. That's 877-750-5371.
This is Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio, coming to you live via the internet, via rebroadcast on WRSDB, the Red State Talk Radio Network, or from the recordings at archives.patrickcomelately.us. If you would like to comment on any of the topics discussed on the show, please email me via stephen@patrickcomelately.us or go to the show's website, www.patrickcomelately.us, and click on the contact button. You can also write your comments on the show's Facebook page. Just search in Facebook for the Patrick Come Lately Show.
And this is Stefan, your Patrick Come Lately, British by birth, American by choice. We're into the second half of the show, or actually less than the second half now, because I was a little late to that break. But a lot of important things, I think, to discuss tonight. I played the email reminder. For those of you that were able to listen to the start of the show, and if not, please go back to the recordings and listen. One of the things I brought up was this topic of Muslim training camps in America, and I'm asking my listeners, if you have any information for me, please do email me with that information. I'd love to hear about it, and I do want to publicize it. So if there's any reason you don't want it publicized, do let me know, but I would, I'll do it anonymously, etc. But I would like to bring it to light, because remember, sunlight is the best disinfectant, and cockroaches hate sunlight. And these low-life scum are worse than cockroaches, and we really need to expose what's going on, and hopefully we can do something about it. And worst case, we can do it a la Freedom Riders. Get ready for that. And, of course, Rex will know what I'm talking about. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go to Amazon, look up RIEPE, R-I-E-P-E. Look for the book FEMA Camp 32 or 38. Rex, you'll have to remind me on that. But anyway, FEMA Camp book series. Start with the 30 numbered camp. It's the first book, and then read the rest of the stories, and then ride off into the sunset as a freedom rider. Okay, folks, I think time for some other stuff that's a little less controversial, but for the remainder of the show, I think we can talk about some of these other things, because they are important. Because while all this other stuff is going on, at the same time, the federal government is wasting billions and billions and billions of our money that we could much better spend on other things, like maybe having better police forces, maybe being able to protect our border against having all these terrorists coming across, and having them set up training camps where they get to do what they want. Like I said, freedom of speech is an important thing here in America, but when you're sitting there plotting the demise of America, all of a sudden the First Amendment becomes a little less applicable. It's a fine line, I know, but somewhere along that line we have to take a decision. Are we going to be PC and let us be drowned by these cockroaches, or are we going to take action? So, some information here from the Cato Institute, a post by Nicole Kading, and she's talking about the size and scope of fraud in Medicare. And this is going to frighten us. right? Medicare spends more than $600 billion annually. But a lot of that money is not spent wisely. She's already written a piece on, she's written about the fact that the Washington Post exposed motorized wheelchair fraud. You've seen all those things on TV. Contact us and we'll get you a free motorized wheelchair. Hey, folks, don't you know, nothing in life is free. So records have suggested that 80% of these motorized wheelchair claims are improper. Yeah, because the person thought, well, it would be nice to have one, so I guess I need one. So, and then the companies are offering to do all the paperwork, and the companies will make sure that they couch it in terms that it will get through the selection. However, according to Ms. Kading, this is just the tip of the iceberg with respect to Medicare fraud. And this is very unfortunate for taxpayers. The Government Accountability Office, the GAO, estimated that Medicare's improper payments amounted to $44 billion, or 8% of total expenditures in 2012. Folks, wake up. Can you imagine what we could do for poor people, right? The asshole in chief talks about redistribution of wealth, and yet they throw away $44 billion of our taxpayer money. I mean, this is just, it doesn't bear belief. The GAO considers Medicare a high-risk program for its vulnerabilities to fraud, waste, abuse, and mismanagement. Now, Medicare is administered by the states, but it's driven by the federal government. Another example of why the federal government, where in the Constitution does it say the government should be responsible for Medicare? Nowhere. That law, quite frankly, as far as I'm concerned, is an unconstitutional law. Oh, and a quick note, if I may just jump in so I can calm my blood pressure down. FEMA Camp 37 was the book. All the books are great. Start with the first one. It really brings everything, starts the story well. But read all of them because they're all great. Anyway, so back to this mismanagement, right? The GAO said Medicare has yet to demonstrate sustained progress in lowering the rate of improper payments. Well, folks, I've got an idea for you. Let's let the free market go to work. Why don't you, if we've got $44 billion, right? I'm quite happy to pay $44 million, right? That's 1%, if I've done my math correctly, of that to independent researchers, independent, private eyes, call them. Medicare private eyes. Yeah, put people on commission to go find the fraud. Now, yes, we'll have to spend some money, but if we can save $44 billion, don't you think that'd be a good idea? And it's worse, because other experts believe that the GAO undercounts examples of fraud in Medicare. And there are estimates that go as high as 20% of claims. $120 billion, folks. That's your money. $120 billion. I mean, let's do the math. How many people do we have here in America? Even including the illegals, right? What are we? 330 million, 350 million. Divide that into 120 billion. I mean, you're talking a reasonable large amount of money that each person is having to pay just for fraud, waste, abuse, and mismanagement. This shows why Obamacare is going to be a huge, huge disaster. And the Regressives don't give a damn about it because they want it. They want it all to collapse so that they can rebuild. Remember Cloward Piven. I mean, this is just really absolutely disgusting. So, folks, here's another thing. We've got to vote for Conservatives so we can get Obamacare repealed. We need to get it changed. Repealed. We need to get something new in place, and we need to get the government out of the medical area. And maybe we need to find a way to start getting rid of Medicare and doing that in a much better way and bring it to much lower levels so that the local levels can actually be responsible for administering it rather than that the bunch of useless nitwits that sit up in Washington, D.C. Okay, folks, I see it's time again for our last break. So I want to say hang on, and I will be back after these messages.
Patriot come lately. British by birth. American by choice. Just like the Founding Fathers. The voice of the conservative resistance.
Man, I had a rough night's sleep. Boy, I got a letter from the IRS yesterday, and I just couldn't sleep. Man, I'm dying here. Somebody help me.
IRS problems affect more than just your finances. If you're ready to take back control of your life and you owe more than $10,000, you need to call the tax doctor. Their expert staff can immediately protect you from the IRS and state collectors and get you the best possible tax settlement guaranteed. The IRS has recently released new programs geared in helping struggling taxpayers, where you may qualify to settle your tax debt and wipe out up to 85% or more of what you currently owe. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, call the tax doctor right now. See if you qualify to pay less. 800-917-8546. 800-917-8546. 800-917-8546. Again, 800-917-8546.
This is Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio, coming to you live via the internet, via rebroadcast on WRSDB, the Red State Talk Radio Network, or from the recordings at archives.patrickcomelately.us.
Yes, time for another topic. I could have gone on for a bit longer on that Medicare fraud, but I'm not going to. I got a couple of other things that I really want to get in. These are things that I've actually also been carrying over from week to week. They've been low on the priority, and when I get to the end of the show and haven't handled them, I just shove them in. And so I really do want to get these in. So first of all, let's talk about Elizabeth Warren. Right now, she's kind of the front runner in terms of the people that could challenge Hildebeest. Sorry, that's my name for Hillary Clinton. I have another one, but I won't use that today. But when we get more news about her, I might end up using that one. While she's been in Congress, and remember she did defeat Scott Brown, she's made a name for herself as a populist who talks tough about Wall Street and large corporations. But that's all a sham, as most liberals, most regressives are. Because she still supports the Ex-Im Bank, a government agency that, and the Ex-Im is the Export-Import Bank, that hurts many U.S. employees of companies not lucky enough to benefit from it, and consumers who face higher prices as a result of the subsidies. And also, don't forget, the Export-Import Bank is subsidizing, for example, foreign airlines that they can buy American aircraft, giving them cheap loans. And who pays for the cheap loans? We do, the taxpayers. Now, she says she believes that it helps create American jobs and spurs economic growth, but there is room for improvement in their operations. However, when she was invited to a Heritage Action talk about ending the Export-Import Bank, she refused to join it. Well, here's some data about it. Only 19%. Her press release about the fact that she didn't want to attend. She said she still felt that this agent focuses on helping American small businesses. Well, the writer of the article said, here's some data for the senator. Only 19% of the bank's activity actually benefits small businesses. The Ex-Im's definition of small business is a pretty big business. It includes firms with up to 1,500 employees earning up to $21 million in annual revenue. In 2007, the most recent year that data is available, and that's 7 years ago. Does it really take them that long to sort out their books? Only 0.3%, that's 0.3% of all small business jobs, as defined by Ex-Im, were actually supported by the bank. So, assuming that each Ex-Im small business transaction, which is, remember, only 19% of all of the transactions, but went to a unique small business, it didn't, then only 0.04% of all small businesses were supported by the Ex-Im in that year. So it's, hypocritical of Elizabeth Warren, but what would you expect? Because the mega banks that Warren always complains about are some of the biggest beneficiaries. They get to extend billions of dollars in loans, collect large fees and interest rates without shouldering most of the risk involved. Yeah, if the loan's not paid back, guess who gets to pay it back? Yes, that's us, the American taxpayers. Anyway, so, this is really bad. Okay. I'm going to quickly go to another topic because I think this is really ironic, almost funny, but still very sick. And this is the dirty little hypocritical secret the left would rather you do not know. The Democrat Party loves to paint themselves as being the party who cares about the plight of the black person, Hispanics and other minorities. Yes, we all know that. They lead their supporters to believe that the Republican Party is for the unequal treatment of black people. In fact, they've convinced all these low-information voters that the GOP is a party full of racists who are responsible for blacks having unequal outcomes in life. However, the Daily Beast, isn't that a left-wing newspaper or a blog? Anyway, the Daily Beast revealed this hypocritical fact about the the Democrat Party. You see, there is a wide discrepancy in the pay of minorities versus whites in Democrat campaigns. The party that constantly rails in support of equal pay not only pays minority workers 30% less than white workers, but minorities are mostly given less glamorous jobs that come with less pay. If you're a person of color hoping to get hired by a political campaign, here's the ugly truth. You'll probably get paid less than your white counterparts if you're even hired at all. Not only do they pay minority staffers less, they also contract out a negligible amount of minority-owned firms. For example, African American staffers on Democratic campaigns were paid 70 cents compared to their white counterparts, and for Hispanic staffers, the figure was 68 cents. And less than 2% of spending by Democratic campaign committees during the past two election cycles went to firms owned by minorities. So there you are, typical regressive hypocrisy. Do what I say, not what I do, from the party that time and time again applies the two sets of rules policy, one for them and one for everybody else. Yet again, we have regressive hypocrisy at its finest. Okay, folks, I see we're getting close to the end of the show. I want to thank you again for listening. Of course, we have to ask you as well to please tell your friends about the show. A junkie like me, I need to get my fix of rating numbers. Please get them to listen to the show, whether it's live or whether it's at Red State Talk Radio. Whoops.
Patriot.
No, I don't want that. I do have to say goodbye, though, and the music will start. So please join me next week, and remember, tell your friends.
Thank you for listening to the show. I hope that you enjoyed tonight's topics. Whether you listened live, to a recording, or to a rebroadcast, I appreciate the time you share with me. We need to spread the message of liberty far and wide, so please tell your friends and family about the show. Thank you for helping to keep the beacon of hope burning. This is Stefan, your Patrick Come Lately, signing off. God bless America, and remember, L3, long live liberty.